Been wanting to do a video on this for a while. I think it's appropriate right now. Certainly getting new fans, getting new subscribers. And once they hear me, such as in my streams, expanding on where I'm at politically, if you want to call it that, or apolitically, they get thrown off. I'm a libertarian. I'm on the extreme side of libertarianism and being an anarcho-capitalist. So when I say that and I get to criticizing, let's see, things that the government does, be it spending habits, why I'm against minimum wages, why I'm against, you name it, socialized healthcare, and all of these other different things. People generally are so heavily critical of that idea that just can't be done, or it'd be a bad thing if it happened. I don't think they understand what takes place right now. So today we are going to discuss spending by way of the federal government. This pie chart that you see right here is based off the 2015 fiscal year. You've probably seen this pie chart everywhere. So certainly from the left, primarily, not exclusively, but I would say primarily in my certain experiences, they'll show this and say, well, we're spending all of this money on military. If we just don't spend as much money on military, then we will have even more money to do the things that we want to do. And again, that's some form of more statist socialism in some aspect, be it healthcare, college, you name it. This is only discretionary spending. And this is what's weird, because a lot of people get it from the source's national priorities pie chart. But the one they should be paying attention to, because this makes it look like the vast majority of your budget, federal government, is spending money on military. But this is only the discretionary spending. Once you start moving down here, and again, this is from the same link. If we go to total, all federal spending, military only makes up this right here. And this is why I've always said that the vast majority of the federal budget right now is being spent on welfare statism, not military. Now, granted, I would be the one to say eliminate all of this. But just to educate some of you all, the vast majority of it's still a big percentage, 15%. Now, give or take, we're in fiscal year going into 2019, but these have sort of remained the same. They've had increases here and there, but give or take, it's the same right now. So you see that, granted, this is a nice, decent percentage, but then you have Medicare, which almost doubles this. And then you have Social Security, which certainly doubles it, military. So you can eliminate the entire military spending, and you still have all of this to account for, which is essentially welfare statism. Now, I'm not going to spend this video getting into the nitty-gritty of, oh, well, if the government didn't do this, who would do that? Corporations, yada, yada. Look, man, that's not what this video is for. This is just pure educational. And maybe at the end, I'll give some of my thoughts. And Social Security, unemployment, like this is all welfare statism. And Social Security, this is where I was talking about the leftists. This is what I would say you get these boomers and you get these quote unquote right wingers that really protect this, because they treat Social Security like it's something. I've done a video on this, by the way. They treat Social Security like it's their money when it's not. Social Security is the previous generations living off the money of the current generation. The money that you paid into Social Security is gone. They spent that a long time ago. They didn't save your money in this box, right? It's not like that. It's not that retirement plan in that sense. So you can say, I paid into it. They need to give it back to me. Your money's gone. They can't it's the federal government, bro. They can't give it back to you without robbing other people. Just like they do for the check now. Your money is gone. But either way, unemployment, labor, Medicare, healthcare, and then all of these other things, educational, like this is welfare statism. Most of your federal government is spending money on, in terms of its budget, is spending money on welfare statism, not military. Though this is way too big. All of this is too big, if you ask me. But even if I operated from the libertarian minarchist standpoint, this is too much. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm like protecting the idea that should be this big. Absolutely not. But I'm saying that understand that eliminate what that, if you eliminate military, it doesn't put a dent in this entire, well, it puts a dent in it for sure. 15% is pretty decent size. But you still have all this other welfare statism. Now, people talking about wanting to socialize more things, nationalize more things, such as even further healthcare, as well as education and college and stuff like that. Your government, first let's go here. Your government is $22 trillion worth of debt. There's a difference between debt and deficit. Deficit, shit you piling up now, and we're constantly adding to it. We're always adding to it. We're always adding to this debt because they deficit spend. The Federal Reserve, that's the rotten thing about it. That and central banking systems, fractional reserve banking systems. But nonetheless, they are allowed to spend money that they do not have. They're allowed to monetize their debt, and they spend money that they do not have. And they have no incentive to not do that because, again, they can either tax it, print it out of thin air, what have you. So your deficit continues to increase every year. So now we are operating at roughly, give or take, almost $800 billion worth of deficit. So we're almost at it. We're getting there. We're going to hit $1 trillion worth of deficit, meaning that year spending $1 trillion that they don't have. Keep this in mind when you want to pick up more things. Even if you eliminated the military, you want to pick up more things, which, again, even the leftists, mainstream leftists don't want to do that. This is why they speak in generic terms. We spend money here, we spend money there, and they don't ever talk about the welfare statism and the money that we already spend on some of this stuff. So right now, looking at the defense budget, they authorized recently $700 billion in defense spending, which is increased from the 500, almost 600. Well, it was about 600 that I showed you from 2015-ish. So the defense budget has, of course, gone up like a lot of other these things. So now you're at a point to where you can eliminate this because 700 billion is less than this. You can, meaning that basically you can eliminate the entire military, and you're still spending money that you don't have. You're still spending money that you don't have. And remember, they don't want to do that. They don't want to eliminate the military. They need somebody not only to, so obviously they talk about military being used for defense purposes. That's a whole nother argument. I disagree with that, considering what happens overseas. But they, of course, will, when we go to military law enforcement, they need somebody to enforce the laws in the event that somebody doesn't want to give up the loot. So that's why mainstream leftists are, they'll protect the military just as much as the next person. As people think they're that critical of them, it's not really that true. But anyway, now the solution that a lot of people have, instead of just, stop robbing people and leave free individuals to figure out these problems, because what we have right now is not that. People talk about this quote unquote late stage capitalism and all of this nonsensical stuff. We do not live in a free society in America. We live in a freer society in comparison to other nations, maybe, but it's not a free society in the sense that I can do what I want with my money. And this is why it's comical, because the big corporations, we say libertarianism can't work, and the big corporations will just run rampant. It's not the big corporations that are advocates of libertarianism. This is why you can go to their boards and CEOs, presidents on down. They're generally statists, hardcore statists at that, because they use the state as an extension of them. This is why threatening the power of it, the economic elites don't like that, as well as the educational elites don't like that, because they will be unable to do what it is that they do to keep them exactly where they're at in the event that we eliminate that territorial monopoly on use of force that they have to basically use it as an extension of themselves to keep them exactly where they're at. So stop with that nonsensical argument. But people want the quote unquote rich to pay more, not understanding, certainly in income taxes, there's so many people that don't pay, 40% and rising, that don't even pay income tax. And then you have, certainly a couple of years ago, and it's still the same, where the top percentile pays more in income tax than the lower percentile, like combined. So they're like, we need to tax them more. We need to give them more. And they already spend them. They already rob them the most. That accounts for the vast majority of the revenue that they bring in from income taxes. Most people don't pay them. There's a big percentage of people that don't pay taxes in the first place. But the top percentile, and he was talking about in 2016, how top 3% of U.S. taxpayers pay the majority of income tax. In 2016, they have a couple of stuff, and obviously it rises as more people make more money. Now, so even by your own logic, that's not the problem, because they're already paying that much. This is why you hear these politicians always talking about, they speak in these loose terms, because they don't have it figured out. If they had it figured out, we wouldn't have this debt and deficit. If they could figure out, that little stupid government Keynesian economists knew what the hell they were doing and were able to predict stuff like this, which they can't, we wouldn't be even having this conversation, but they can't. So I wanted this video out there mainly to talk about the budget spending, because I always see mainstream leftists showing this, when that's not an honest representative. You go to the same source that you get there, they don't check their own damn sources. Most of the budget isn't being spent on military. Too much of it is, but most of it isn't. It's the vast majority of the current federal budget is being spent on welfare statism, Medicare, healthcare, Social Security. This is welfareism. People won't agree. I know them boomers hate when I say that Social Security is not welfareism. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is robbing the current generation to subsidize the old generation. The money that you, quote unquote, paid into it when you were paying into it was paying for the previous generation. The money that you have, that you're getting now, is coming from the current generation. The money that you put in is gone. That's why a lot of people call Social Security a friggin' Ponzi scheme. Now, to wrap this up, y'all know I'm an advocate of freedom, man. But understand why that is the case. I believe in free and voluntary exchange. I don't believe in perfection. I don't believe in utopianism or anything like that. And you can call my ideology, philosophy, whatever, stupid. That's fine. And you can say that it doesn't work. Libertarianism can't work. And you can give me all these what ifs, because which is all, and it's always who built the roads, what about this, military, not like libertarians haven't wrote so much material on this already. That's why that lets me know you're on level one. When somebody asks me about them bitch ass roads, who built the bitch ass roads, like when somebody asks me about them whole ass roads, man, that let me know right out the gate that you are on level one. And most people that criticize libertarianism they can't see what it is that we are advocates of. They don't even understand it, but they're so heavily critical of it. And they, more importantly, ignore what's taking place right now. So, hey, your stuff can't work. We need this, this, and that, even though right now this is happening. So apparently, you see all this red, but apparently, whatever the hell you're doing right now isn't working either. And this bubble's got to pop at some point, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. A rotten Federal Reserve devaluing your currency. Deficit spending, selling off the assets of the unborn future generations. What you're doing right now isn't working. It's not. You're under the illusion that it is. And I would say that the politicians and the educational elites have done a great job in putting you under the idea that that's the case. Even when they refer to like some of these other countries that, well, they do this and that, and they're worse. They never talk about the debt that they have. And often cases, they have more debt per capita and per household than the U.S. does. And in a lot of cases, they spend, certainly when you start talking about Scandinavian countries, which is their favorite, due to these defense deals, they don't spend anything in military because they rely on the United States' military for protection. If the U.S., which I'm always an advocate of, got the hell out of the way, said, screw all of these defense packs, these agreements that we have, and protect y'all on y'all own, they're going to be robbing y'all even more out there. But that's sort of beside the point. All I'm saying is what's happening right now does not work. It's simply not working. I'm not an advocate of any of this because I'm not an advocate of trusting my money in the hands of people that I don't know. You know what I mean? People I've never met. And I don't trust them. I mean, it's not like I'm giving it to them voluntarily. First of all, they extort you for it. They say, hand over the loot. And if you don't, we coming for it forcefully. But all I'm saying is right now, none of this stuff is working. So keep that in mind. When you make an argument, certainly the mainstream left, I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you make better arguments. Stop showing this stupid ass pie chart and show the actual pie chart. Because this actual pie chart, as you can see, highlights that the vast majority is due to welfare statism. That's all I'm saying. That's going to end it for the video. Until next time, man. Y'all be easy.